Gentlemen, you are listening to WCEG Network. We are a worldwide community empowerment group, and we're here to speak life into the community. Log on to www.wcegtalkradio.com. Watch us live on your smart TV, on Roku cable channel, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I'm your host today. I'm Jeremy Walker, host of Veterans Today 2.0 for the next hour. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. You can subscribe free to our YouTube channel, WCEG Network. Like us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Connect with us on LinkedIn, Fanbase, Bluetooth Skies, or Threads. Excuse me. Also, you can download our free WCEG mobile apps and have Alexa play WCEG Talk Radio. Listen to WCEG on any of our 12 podcast distribution platforms. But the topics, just so you know, last but not least, the topics and our opinions of those on the show today, as well as me as the host, are not WCG Network. So thank you for your continued support. Today, we're going to start off with my friend, Henry Trudell. I want to start off reading his bio, give you a little background on my brother from another mother, and then we're just going to sit back and have a interesting time. So without further ado, Lieutenant Colonel retired Henry E. Trudell is a proud combat veteran who retired from the U.S. Army Reserve in 2023 after 27 years of distinguished service. His career included 2 deployments to Iraq, where he served the roles ranging from material manager, officer, to public affairs officer. Henry held key leadership and logistic positions across the Army, including assignments at Fort Hood, Rock Island Arsenal, the Missile Defense Agency, and the Pentagon as a sustainment fellow. He is a certified supply chain professional, Scrum Master, a DAW, IAW Level 2 program manager with a BA in mass communication from Xavier University of Louisiana and an MBA from North Central University. Among his many accolades are the Defense Meritorious Service Medal, Iraq Campaign Medal, 2 stars, and the St. Martin Award for Excellence in Logistics. Now serving as a logistics program manager in the private sector, Henry continues to apply his expertise in program and project management. He is a devoted husband to Dr. Adrian Trudell, a fellow veteran and pharmacist. Okay, got smart. Go ahead, Henry. That's right. And proud father to 3, Joshua, Maxwell, and Genevieve. So, welcome, Henry, brother. How you doing, man?
Fantastic.
Yes.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy.
Look super happy today, man. So we're gonna continue that momentum. Man, impressive bio. Thank you for your service. Thank you for taking the time out today to come in on the show, man. I really appreciate it. So the reason I asked you to come on was to share your story. Yeah. Basically, tell us a little bit about what's your most memorable experience from the military and why.
My most memorable experience was joining, actually, all the way. Each assignment was basically, I got great experience from, but joining the military and coming from 19 years old to a structured environment was pretty eye-opening, and to experience at a level that I was not used to. Working with people, I kind of work with people, give you a little bit of my background.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a boys' home, so I was used to working with people. And my mom passed when I was 11, and kind of dad never presented himself. So, I learned teamwork before the Army, but I learned leadership with a combination of teamwork, accountability, and serving a greater cause higher than yourself. So the most, daunting moment, the most critical moment in my life was joining the military, basically. It was
okay.
Yeah, like being shot cannon.
And then what? Starting off feeling like
It
Feel like
was.
it, right?
Yeah, I was a 13 Bravo on the 109 house.
Okay.
That was hard work. But it taught me a lot um, about the military, about myself, being
Hmm.
away from home, being in environments that I wasn't used to, staying in the field for 2 weeks at a time, working with people to actually, have them, make the mission be accomplishable. Took a team effort to fire a weapon system. So
Yeah.
everybody has to do their job to the utmost professional manner, and everybody has to understand their position. And once that is accomplished, we can do. I realize in life, you can do great things. So I learned that from being in the army, my first time at basic training.
So you came in lower enlisted and then went to the officer side, right?
Yeah, so it didn't start out. I mean, I had no plan as far as how my trajectory would go, but that's how it went. As you know, enlisted life is hard. We work, or we used to work.
Yeah.
So it's hard work. And learning, be enlisted, then becoming an officer, I get two sides of the spectrum, so I understand what work means to work hard, understand, how the work is and how long it takes and who's involved. And, so as an officer, I have a different perspective and a different respect for enlisted soldiers because I was once one.
So having that hybrid background just kind of made you a better leader.
Yeah,
So
of course.
so many words.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
you know, yeah.
So looking at the way the military is changing now, would you say that would be a great route for this generation to kind of follow, or from some of the things that you've seen in your opinion?
Every to answer your question, yes. Okay.
Hmm.
Because um we all need discipline. My kids need discipline, structure. That's never gonna go away.
Yeah.
And join the military, they will provide that discipline and structure and leadership in the absent thereof, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I would recommend that, even I don't look at the fact, kind of what's going on in the world today. I do, but when it pertains to if it's when you ask the question, if it's you think, for a young man or woman to join the military, you think this would be a better option or person to
Yeah.
join the military. And I think yes, if you want to, it's as much as you put into what you get out of it.
Exactly.
Have an intent and purpose. If you want to get something out of it, if you don't want to, if you don't apply it to get anything out of it, then don't waste your time, because as the army say, the army keeps rolling along,
Hmm.
so yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. So I know right now you're still just beginning the transition process, right? About about
Yeah, about yeah,
about 2 years in the game right
yeah,
now.
it seems like just yesterday,
Hmm.
um, yeah, start growing my face hair. I'm like, oh my goodness, like,
I'm trying to catch you. I'm
yeah.
working on.
So I was like, wow, what's under that? What's beneath my skin? Wow.
Hmm.
So it's a slow transition,
Yeah.
and it takes time. And when you used to being in a structured environment and moving at a high pace all the time and doing multiple jobs at one time and doing at a high level is kind of it's a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
It's very different. It's extremely different. It's like your whole mind and body and soul slows down. And I mean, you already know. So if you haven't been where I've been in uniform, if you have, you will see that it's going from moving 100 miles an hour, 1,000 miles an hour to going down to zero.
Hmm.
So I'm when I first got out, I'm having a hard time. I'm still kind of having a hard time. Like
Yeah.
I should be doing something. I should be moving. I should be doing. I should have these many jobs, and so I'm used to a high paced environment. It's hard to turn off at times.
Yeah.
It's hard to turn off. I
And
can't. I can't.
that kind of leads into my next question. Like, where do you, what areas do you feel you need the most support in? Especially now, I retired 8 years ago, so now this time is sped up a lot, and here you are, freshly coming out, and there's so many different changes that's going on with like the government and different things, the VA. So, what is it specifically that you feel, Henry? Not, and this can go out towards the masses. A lot of us share the same experiences and the same feelings, but when somebody say it, it kind of like that person becomes the leader. And all you're doing is just saying, hey, what I'm going through day to day. We just don't know.
Yeah, you have to find a place. Whatever you believe in, what God you believe in, you have to find that place and seek some reverence and quiet time. Because it's what's going on. If you take it all in, it will lead you down a dark path. So
Mm-hmm.
you gotta have a good mind, body, and soul. That's important. Um, and spend time to get to know who you are, because you're no longer, army soldier. You got to figure out who you are. I got to figure out who Henry is,
Yeah.
and that's a difference. That's a difference. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Oh,
you.
definitely.
And I came when I was 19, so now I got to figure out. 27 years later, I got to figure out who I am, and I'm not a 19-year-old anymore. So
Or being called Henry for the most part. Hey, sir.
being called
How
Henry,
you
or
doing?
being called Lieutenant Colonel. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
just Henry. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm just Henry. So that's a shift, with being called sir, it's like,
exactly.
so it's a shift. Um, but that mental piece, man, I can't go without saying that mental piece
Yes,
is
sir.
very delicate, and you have to get the mental down, because it's a mental transition.
Mm-hmm.
It's an active, you know, body transition from uniform to civilian, but it's an active mental transition. I think it's more mental than actually physically moving from the military to civilian life. It's mental. And some people can't get their mind around, how people talk to them, and how
Yep.
these, young people treat them, or just you know um it's a unique feeling, man.
Yeah.
But you just have to understand where you are, understand that how people reference you is not, um they're not doing that out of spite. They're just doing it because that's what they're used to.
That's what they know.
Yeah, you just kind of like, okay. It takes a while to say okay, but you always got to reflect that mental piece, because we're losing a lot of soldiers due to suicide and unable to adaptability. And for the most part, the military, does its part with actually getting soldiers help, but you have to be willing to receive it. And you got to identify it. You got to accept it. The first thing, if anything you're trying to change something, you have to accept and the key word is accountability. Take where
Yeah.
you are, accept that, and then you say, okay, I have this issue or problem, and I have to, you know, get help for this.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you, hey, I think you're resembling these type of behaviors, but if you don't acknowledge that, and I'm speaking, if I'm a psychiatrist or psychologist or counselor, if you
Mm-hmm.
don't acknowledge that, it doesn't do anything to help you. You're still back
Yeah.
where you are. And when you know, silence is the root of all thoughts. And when you in that silence, your mind will go places that you never dreamed your mind would go to, good and bad.
Yeah. We need
So
we need to put a patent on that, make that a t-shirt.
I
No,
just,
man, I'm messing with you.
yeah, just, it is, you quiet and your thoughts will
Mhm.
wander in places like, wow. So you have to find that peace, you know, go to the gym, walk, play yoga music or something, or, you know, whatever gets you to that place where you at peace.
And
Because
see, that's a beautiful statement. I just spent some time yesterday with Highland Rivers up in Dalton, and that's what they were talking about. Like for veterans and so forth, the hardest wall that we hit is the mental wall, coming
right,
right out. That transition piece. We're transitioning even to the day we go in the ground, but how important is having that mental aspect, and then the physical well being is something too. We're older in age. 20 plus years, 30 plus years, and so forth. So you're already dealing with that type of transition. I say LL Cool J stole my body. It is what it is. But I'm getting older. I'm almost 50 now, and I still have that mentality going for, like you said, 400 miles per hour. But if you don't realize that there's a mind shift, if you don't take that accountability, if you don't say, well, you know what, I am 48 now versus 17 or whatever when I first came in. There is no more requirement to get up and do PT anymore. So why are you stressing yourself? How important would you say that's all? You kind of hit on it earlier, but just specifically going into focusing on that mind shift. How important would you say that's to you right now?
yeah, that's if people don't like being around you, it's not them, it's you. You know what I'm saying? If everybody doesn't like to be around you and they say the same thing as you, it's not
Mm,
them. And so you have to acknowledge that. First, you have to acknowledge that. You have to accept it, and then you have to be willing to change.
mm,
So I think that is important. Me myself, I go to the gym with my son, or go to the gym by myself, or walk the dog, or just sometimes I don't even have music on. I just walking and looking at the trees and the cars going and people doing what they do. And I look back at my life and I'm like, I can't. You and I, Jeremy, we a different type of breed of people because it's unique when you say I'm retired, and people look at you like, what? Like, yeah, I'm retired. How you do that?
yeah,
So,
we don't look the part. Be like, you look too young to be retired for
well,
real.
what's so retirement has a stigma to it. You have to be a old and bent over and with a walker. I mean, a retirement has different pictures, and people assume that you're supposed to be burnt out and ran down.
Hmm.
But the Army does a good job of keeping us physically fit. And if we follow that, you can have a physically fit life, physically fit mind, and, good regiment with a work-life balance, which is critical,
Yeah,
which is not, people talk about it, but they don't understand it. They don't follow it. They just say it because it's a cool thing to say.
yeah,
Life balance. Do you understand what that means? Like, because we understand that at the highest level. And, I don't see the regular person going into work and they got to carry a gun into a combat theater.
yeah.
So when you look at that, like change the dynamics on that, that's a different type of going to work.
Oh yeah,
And I
yeah.
did that
Other than
work.
firefighters and police officers.
I did that work with two deployments.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? In the combat zone where the adversary job is to end you. So you got to go to work thinking I may have to fight with a gun, like I may be killed with an IED. It's just I may go outside the wire and be, bombed or something. It's a real thing.
Hmm.
So people think, okay, when you retire, you should, since you don't have to do that anymore, you should be relaxed. And like, no, because I'm used to going that fast,
We
wherever,
going 400
wherever,
miles per hour. That's all you know.
wherever. I get, very little sleep, just like you. We went out to a function last night, and I didn't get to bed till 12 o'clock. Woke up at 5. You know what I'm saying?
Your body won't let you sleep past that. It's like that's what we do. That's what we do, right?
My mind is turning, either about today with the interview with you, or, I mean, with the podcast, or making sure I got, bring my kids to Bible school, for the day, whatever. So
And
it's
that's kind of
it's
leading into
it's, it's mental gymnastics.
yeah, that's kind of leading into my next question too. Is man, you must have got my notes in front of you or something like that. This is crazy, but so with all that being said, because again, that transition piece, that challenge, that getting that mindset, slowing down, that's the biggest thing for us is slowing down. What do you enjoy now? What do you enjoy to do? And then, we had all this time before. Part of what I do in Helmets to Boots is I still work from 8 to 8, like I'm a first sergeant. But now you got all this other time, and it's like there's a challenge. Most of our friends be like, "Hey, man, I'm at the house, and I got to build a man cave, or I got to, something to do. We're not used to being at home anymore. And so that's where a lot of these challenges come from. Like, what do we enjoy to do with being by ourselves? Like, what do you do?
um, I enjoy working out, I really do. I got my certification, I mean, what have you, in physical training. So I like taking care of myself, because I got young kids, man. So I gotta be there, for them, and be there at the highest level that I can. So I think that's important, for me to do, take care of my body. Of course, my mental state has to be there, because if
Mhm.
you ever been in a room with a room full of people and you don't even notice anybody there?
Yeah, all the
I've
time.
been that way many times. Like, I'm the only one here. But really I'm not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you just your mind is somewhere else, and being in uncompromisable places and doing things that regular people don't do, it your mind will has traveled that way. Your mind has muscle
Yeah.
memory. You believe it or not. It's just not your muscles, your physical muscles, your tendons. Uh,
Hmm.
your mind has, I remember being in Iraq and thinking, man, I might not make it home. Especially that first deployment.
Yeah.
It's for real, man. And you see people dying that around you, and you're like, hey, you get the obituary for the day. It's scary, man. But we it's nothing in life that can prepare us for that. However, the military does a good job. But at the end of the day, you have to really, be a different person. When people ask me, well, you went overseas, you fought in war, how are you all right? Like, what kind of question is that? It's kind of insensitive at times. Like, because
Mm.
once you leave a theater of combat, you never the same, good or bad. I mean, you just never the same. You like, I see life differently.
Yeah.
I appreciate life. Not saying I appreciate life more than the next person who didn't go fight in a war, but I
But
do.
you still value every minute.
I
We
do,
joke and
because
say every day
I've seen
above
people die.
ground.
I've seen people die. I went
Yeah.
to ceremonies in Iraq when you
Mhm.
inside the chapel, when they do um that, roll call.
Yeah.
Some people don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
But some people, if you serve, you know what I'm talking about when you do roll call. I never go to one of those again, man. It's like you died. It's like that could be you.
Yeah.
Um, it could be you. And so imagine living that every day for a year, and then another time, another year.
Yeah.
Your mind can't revert that. It cannot get rid
Mhm.
of it. It's
And
just
a good, but on the opposite side of that, a lot of times for us, especially when it comes to being here. One of the things that I wanted to ask you too is, Father's Day just passed and everything like that. And so I know for a lot of us, especially for me and my kids, having those experiences, having that background, I love my family 10 times more than, thinking back before the deployments and so forth. Not saying I didn't love everybody, but when you have these things, these situations and so forth, it really makes you value every minute you got with them. So, how would you how has the transition right now impacted like the marriage and the fatherhood for you? Because I mean, I know you and I admire you for how much time you spend with your family and so forth. But for the viewers and everything, because this is going to help other people open up. Hey man, you know what? I got all this time, or I don't have time, or what are you doing now? Because again, you're an awesome dad, man, an awesome brother, and everything too. So I want them to hear it from another person I respect.
Yeah, since my mind's always going 100 miles an hour, I'm always saying, okay, I gotta do this, this, that. But I got my youngest son here, and he's like, hey, Dad, he told me yesterday I was tired yesterday, um, ripping and running with him. And then he said, hey, we're gonna go play basketball. I'm like, I'm tired. Actually, I'm like making stuff up. Like, and then, I thought about it and I laid down. I said, we're never gonna walk this way again. I'm
Mm,
gonna never see this moment again. And when I'm unable to walk, you know, being with, my injuries, whatever, one day I'm not gonna be able to walk. One day I'm not gonna be able to shoot a basketball. And I thought about that and I got up immediately. I said, let's go. So he said, we going? And to see that on his face, I mean, you know what I'm saying? We just be playing a little throw around basketball at the Y, just,
yeah.
I mean, it changes. He looks forward to that. And I
Mhm.
wish I had that opportunity with my oldest son now. Um, you know, being around him, I mean, I did all I could to be his father
Yeah.
everywhere. I did everything I could, put him in camps when he was with me for every summer. I did the best I could, so I kind of, you know, I just want to be better than what my father was to me because my father didn't do squat.
Yeah. I
As you
got you.
know, so
Yeah, I got you. But at
I,
the same time, I'm like, I see you every day doing the best you can. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey man, even
yeah,
to the point where we gonna get these little race cars together and y'all gonna lose. I'm just telling you, you're gonna lose. It is what it is, because
yeah, with the
uh,
boys, the Cub
yeah,
Scouts, yeah,
yeah, the
yeah,
Cub Scouts and so forth. So to me, a lot of this is learning from our mistakes and learning from what we didn't have, and then having that those other experiences, the near death experience and so forth, or watching people we led lose their lives and so forth, and being there for families. It put a whole different spin on how I see my family and what I want that vision to look like and so forth. Um,
yeah.
I had a plan when I retired. That plan was totally shot. So
Yeah,
now it's like, hey, what do you do? And most of us get out with that expectation, like, I'm gonna get this good job. I'm gonna
yeah,
spend more time with the family. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And this wish list just gets super long. But then all of a sudden, when you start checking off what you're doing, you're like, no, it's not happening. So that's why I was like, hey, talk to me little bit about your vision and where you're at now, 2 years in the game versus last year, the first year being out. What did that look like?
man. That first year, I was just going through like a mental depression or breakdown. Like, why do people don't respect each other more or less themselves? Like, why
Mm,
do we have to talk to you and address you in a manner that's undignified as to what they want to receive? And it just like, is it me? Like, like people don't say greeting of the day. People don't, I tell people I'm from New Orleans, right? It's free to speak. It's free. It's free. I don't have to pay you. I speak to Everybody. Like, hey, how you doing? Some people, just it's
Yeah.
you don't have to pay me, I'm gonna pay you. It's an even exchange, but I just say, remain who you are, because it's kind of hard what's going on to remain who you are and what you believe in, because you see what you see on TV, or you see how people behave, but you still gotta be who you are, right? When you enter a space that's unfamiliar to you still gotta be who you are, you know? And when I look at civilians, understand civilians to veterans, and what we look, how we look to civilian market when we applying for jobs, that you would say, we thought the world was gonna be our oyster and everybody would
Yeah.
come begging at your feet to come work for them, and you work for them while using they work for you while you was in uniform,
Hmm.
the industry. And it's few and far between, And you say, hey, I retired with honorable discharge. I had medals. I've deployed twice, so I know how to operate under stressful environments at the highest of level. So when somebody asks you, what's your hardest day? I've had no hardest days being that I'm not even in the combat zone. That's easy. Like, I get
Yeah.
to go home, see my family. I get to call people, and I remember the first deployment, I had to pick up that green phone, and they had to connect me through Fort Hood or somewhere, or they connect me through another brag or somewhere. Then I had to give them the number. Man, I'm talking about,
Oh, trust me, I was with you on that one.
yeah, then the phone go,
And
yeah,
you get that
yeah,
echo going for a minute, and
yeah.
then
It's just
yeah,
like,
but
man,
soon as you hear that person's voice on the other end, regardless
yeah,
of
it's
the
like, hey,
echo or
you hear
not,
me? You hear me?
instantly lifted up, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that first deployment was a doozy, man.
Hmm.
But back to what we were discussing, veterans aren't just disciplined. We are agile, we are resourceful, we are problem solvers, you know,
Critical thinkers,
critical
strategic planners,
thinkers. And
project management.
we are prideful people. We're not
Mhm.
looking for a handout. We're looking for opportunity to serve in a different way. That's it. That is it.
Yeah.
If nobody understands or listen to what I just said, that's what veterans want. Because I speak for everybody. I don't speak for just me. I'm speaking for my brothers and sisters in arms. You know what I'm saying? I got to. I've done it for 27 years. Who else I'm gonna speak for? I can't speak for anybody else but the people that the people that I know in the country that I serve. The flag, the
Yeah.
Constitution. Um,
Now, on that note, because you did say something that was great, still looking to serve. Now, a lot of us pivot. We both going into the entrepreneurship space. I think that's something that thoroughly goes um, underutilized part of the transition process. We got the Boost to Business course and different things like that. How important do you feel that pivoting, having that mindset to pivot? I still want to serve, but maybe I can't. You talked about disabilities and so forth. Some of us get to a point where you can't work
yeah.
anymore, but you want to work. You have to do something, because if you lose that purpose, if you lose what it is that make you get out of bed, that's where the depression come in. That's where the thoughts and the racing and all that other stuff come from. So, then we eventually, unfortunately, have a suicide rate that, if you do root cause analysis, a lot of times it's not about the job and I hate this job. It's about, I didn't have a purpose. I didn't find something that made me feel good. You can go get a job at McDonald's,
Yeah.
but doing something meaningful after taking the uniform off, like you said, 27 years. The bat suit gave us purpose, whether we wanted to or not, leading people, being a part of a team. So when that's gone, whether it be a med board or retirement or be a chapter or something like that, it leaves a huge gap in our mindset. So can you talk a little bit about that in your perception?
Um, you said a lot. So, um,
The entrepreneurship. Let's go back to
Yeah,
entrepreneurship.
so I
That was
think
important.
you want to do something that you love to do, and that's a little bit of searching,
Mhm.
You can go to boost the business, that's good, but you gotta at the end of the day, you gotta say, what do I want to do? How do I want to make a difference? And I'm looking at somebody that's making a difference, and I say this all the time. I say, man, you know, Jeremy is doing the most. You know what I'm saying? He's working like it's his last day. Like every day, like you're doing things that people wish they can do, wish they could figure out their purpose, wish they could figure out what makes them happy. And that goes to showing like, so what got you to that point? Like, I understand your story and it's not we're talking about me today, but it's about
Mhm.
you. It's about us, So, it took you a while to say, you know what, God leads us to through trial and tribulation and troubled waters. And he you have to listen to him because if you don't, you're not gonna listen hear what he's saying, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna be constantly searching for something that's already there. There's no need to search for much of anything. Usually it's already there. You just have to look the other way or say, just been here all the time. I
Well,
just did.
it's an
Yep.
educational piece too. When I
Yeah.
met you, what, in 4 block,
Hmm.
that's, I love when you say that. It's about me on some things, and I thank you for that. And I'm honored. But at the same time, I'm constantly searching, like you said, for that new me. And I'm going through different programs like the 4 blocks and the boots to business and so forth. So it's been 8 years to be able to fight through all of this stuff and be like, nobody was there for me. So now my new purpose is what? I created an element, a business, so to speak, to where my purpose, I get to educate people. And so, I mean, that was a blessing. I met you, but I'm all about community too. So I'm not by myself.
Right.
Who knew in 4 block we was going to become brothers, and then all of a sudden take this journey and go through wounded warriors together and go through this and go through that. So like, what are some of the things that you found in your transition? Like some of the programs that you like.
Um, I like your program most definitely. I've liked I mean my hat goes off to Wounded Warrior, with their what they're doing for soldiers.
I
And
just came back from Niagara Falls, right?
yeah, we just came back from Buffalo, New York. The second trip, man. Wounded Warrior has made a difference in a lot of people's lives. And I see it because this is my second one. And you told me about it. Like I was like they'll pay for free for you to go. I'm like, what? Man, I ain't gonna do that. And they pay for everything. They don't want you to worry about anything because their motto is, hey, you worried about this country while you was in uniform. When you took care of us, we're gonna take care of you. So I mean, what better way to say it? What better way to do it than action? And they about action. I'm telling you, man. You already know. You invited me to it. The what's the in Blue Waters? Is that Blue Waters or something?
Freedom
Blue
Waters.
Freedom Waters. I mean, you invited me there. And just being out on the water. I never and with the boat just crashing the waves and going out there. It was like, man. You go through different things to figure out who you are. Like man, okay, they doing this. I'm going here. I'm figuring me out. Doing stuff that the military is not mandating that I do. I don't have to wear a uniform. I stand in formation. And I'm to shoot a rifle, and I ain't gotta do squad tactics and all this stuff. I could just be me, right? And this
Yeah.
I can't help but revert back. You got to find out who you are. You got to be you. You got to find out who you are, and that's a journey, man. I mean, you can take it as a positive or negative, but you gotta reach out to people and resources. It's there.
So the
So
connection is very important.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like when I got in the fourth block, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this and see how it is because it was brand new to me, right? And
Yeah,
then so I wasn't able to participate too much, as you know, and because I was still on active duty, and they sent me to South Korea for 3 months, and didn't know I was coming home. My boss said, "You come home when you're done." I said, "Okay."
the normal. Okay. Yeah.
And so I like, oh, that's fair. I've been doing this long. I got it. So I came back and went to the 4 block ceremony and at the battery, right?
Yeah.
I said, "Who this guy is, man?" He get up there and talking. I was like, "Damn, this dude is different." Like, he take no, you know what? Like you was speaking like it was you owned it, bro. You owned the room. And I told my wife, I said, man, I know this, I'm gonna know this dude. I'm telling you, I got me and this dude gonna be friends. I'm telling you, like this is the type
Hmm.
I like, you know. He you could tell that you was about doing something that nobody was able to do in that particular moment because if they did, they would have did it.
Yep.
And you was about doing what you have to do in order to show people that you're bigger than who they think you are.
Yeah, it's
You know
about
what
me.
I mean? So
And it's a question. It's a question in the chat. We got to answer real quick. Four Block is actually a program for veterans where they teach us to go into Fortune 500 companies and get jobs. It's designed so when you're navigating the job process, that you actually go into the company, like Delta and Citibank and all these other different people, meet
Wells
up with
Fargo, mhm.
Wells Fargo and so forth, and meet up with the veterans within, and they kind of help you with writing your resume and trying to find a job or interviewing you and talking you through the process of, what is it that you did in the military, but what is it that you want to do now? Sometimes that don't translate over. Hey, I did this and I want to do something different. It might be better, but so we don't understand a lot of the skill sets. Like, Henry's a retired colonel. He's got all these different things in his goodie bag, but we look at just the MOS versus saying, okay, he's a project manager, program manager. He does logistics. He does this. He has a whole bunch of skill sets, and that's most of us. Even the typical private in any one of the branches, you're taught something that you can learn. You're adaptable and so forth. So these are transferable skills. A lot of us don't get taught specifically. So that's what the 4 block program is. And then
Yeah, no,
Henry,
there. It's a shot blast, as we would reference to the weapons as a shot blast to the head. You know, it's telling you, okay, this is what's going on since you've been, locked up in the military for so long.
Mhm.
But we do in the real world. You know,
Yeah,
we do
exactly.
the STAR method. Okay, what is that? Situation, action, situation, task, action, result. Okay, what is
Mhm.
that? So I had to learn all that stuff. Like, what?
Learn the civilian term. That was the biggest thing.
Yeah,
It really focused on us changing our mindset from military tones and NCO yards and OERs to how does
yeah.
that equate to a resume? That verbiage is so huge. And I think um,
I
what as we develop in our careers, a lot of us, especially on the officer side, we go through college. Well, think about a lower enlisted person, or think about some of the NCOs, whatever the case is. That's not part of the career track anymore, and it never was. So now, how do you turn around and say, "Well, I'm a geospatial analyst, and I'm a drone guy, and I'm this and that," or he's they don't understand what a lieutenant colonel is and how many people. This guy has over 6,000 people underneath his command and so forth as a battalion commander, and you're like, okay, so what does that mean on the civilian side? That's what they're focused on. And so, what
yeah.
other programs have you gone through, Henry, since then?
Um, I went through Heroes Out High. Uh,
Hmm.
did that. Um, what other things I did?
Did you go through Syracuse?
Yeah, I did
Yeah,
Syracuse.
tour program, and
Yeah.
um, this is
I,
where this is
I did
where
their went through their PNP program. Did that. Um, took me a while to get that PNP though, but
the verbiage, right? Again, the
Yeah,
verb. But you you
so,
you
but
got how many years?
I did project management in the military before I
Exactly.
retired. So, but there you go, what does that mean to civilian companies? In the civilians company, civilians companies acquisition is a merger of two different entities to become one. But in the military, it's program management. So
Yeah.
you got to change that on your resume. Like I did program management, but you got what is that acquisitions? That's project management.
Yeah.
You know, but they don't recognize that until you have to go get a certification in PMP
Mhm.
and stuff like that. So like, oh,
Or
okay,
or they don't account for your experience over the certification. And one of the
yeah,
questions we
yeah,
have in the chat is on the HR side, the civilian counterparts want you to know what HRIS is, software. They want you to know what a software is. But then if a person can learn in the military systems, you know, you can learn it. We normally learn something in 30 days, or we go to school for 3 to 6 months to learn these jobs coming straight off the street. And then,
right,
like me, I got 3 different MOSs, 3 different job skills. So that's going to school for a minimum of this. That's what we're looking at too. It's like, how do we turn around and make that relatable? So we do a lot to bust our tails to get these jobs, but on the back end, there's nothing really in return for them to meet us halfway. And that's one of the
yeah.
reasons I started him was to boost
Um,
LLC.
yeah. I know that who has good programs like, Amazon. I worked with Amazon. I was a financial analyst before I got a uniform. I did a skill bridge with them. Just, you know, mm, that wasn't for me. I'm used to working with people and doing stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm running programs. So, but Amazon does a great job with that. I was going to say something else. I don't remember. And Boeing has a good program, but I was in Huntsville. They was going to recruit me, so, but I didn't. They want me boots on ground, so I didn't. Wasn't able to take a part of that. But I wouldn't say it's dark and gloom.
Yeah,
There's companies, there are people out there that are willing to help you, but they also don't understand our language, and it we can only transcribe what we do in the military so much, and so I think it's important since 1% of the population is in the military, it shouldn't be that hard for you to pick up a playbook or have a playbook created where you can say, okay, this is what this MOS is. This is what culminating leadership is. This is what operational leadership is. And kind of like a book, a dictionary, explaining to you
yeah,
what because civilian people still need to understand who we are, right?
yeah.
We served this country, and some people made the final sacrifice. Wouldn't you think it'd be important for you to understand what we go through and what our jargon is and how to transcribe it so you can understand it? Because they got some people though say, man, he said he was a commander. What does that mean? He
Yeah.
has no leadership experience. My wife told me that like people like what who never been in the military. Like we didn't look at him because we didn't know what commander meant and we didn't know if he had leadership skills. What?
So with that being said, like looking at the transition phase, like and you hit it on the head. It's going back into the verbiage, commander versus leadership, and so forth. What do you feel like we as a community, or we as when I say community, I'm talking about the veterans, it's family members, it's the community that we serve in, right? So we make up 3% of the world, the active duty is 7%. 90% of the world is people who haven't served. They're still part of us as veterans. You're right. We come from that and we go back to it. What do you feel like can be done to help bridge that gap? Because that's what I'm focusing on with my LLC is to create that training environment for the leadership top down versus you trying to go from the bottom up and prove yourself and figure out, hey, I got to figure out what you're thinking so I can say what you want me to say. But we're never taught that. You say commander, they want leadership. So like, how do we get that? In your opinion, how do we get that bridge, that
I
gap
mean,
close?
it's a double-edged sword. We have to work on becoming acclimated in civilian life. We have to do our part, but they also have to become, they also have to understand who we are and where we came from. What does that mean, right? So it's a working relationship. And at this point, it's just, people being the military, soldiers, sailor, Marines, Coast Guard, and what have you, merchant Marines and whatever
Don't forget
whatever
Space
else.
Force.
Yeah, Space Force. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Space Force.
Um,
With that
yeah,
one.
I worked with Space Force my last assignment. So we all got to do our part, right? So who's to say that it shouldn't be some document or some book, a playbook to say, hey, okay, this is what this word means. This is what this MOS. What is MOS? What does that mean? You know what I'm saying? So it could be like a 101 breakdown when we used to have key leader engagements, or we have what leadership development time,
Yeah.
and we sit down and we talk, if we want to hire these people, these veterans, let's get to know who they are and where they came from, right? So a part of that is understanding somewhat of what the language is, not a total,
Whole lexicon, creating a whole
yeah,
different page and everything. Yeah.
What they call it, Andrew Stone, whatever. So we just have to. It's got to be a working relationship. It's like a marriage. You got to be working together to bring us into the environment, and we got to work with you to accept us and to understand who we are.
Yeah.
Because I see
So
it's
it goes into education. That's my
yeah,
thing.
it's just education, and I see
Yeah.
that we doing all the work trying to fix the resume, but nobody's understanding where. Not I'm not saying nobody. I'm just saying it's difficult to extrapolate.
It's not on a wide scale. That's the thing.
Yeah, to extrapolate that
Yeah.
my 27 years of service to put it into 2 pages.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I done about any job, every job you could imagine, you know, um, in the field and on the desk,
Yeah.
operations. So, you know,
Well, we got 8 minutes left, so I need to kind of wrap it
dang,
up a
that was
little bit, right?
fast.
Hey, man, we talking, man. That's what we do, right?
we got
So,
we got
another major concern right now that you see what's going on in the news is all the changes in the VA, right? So, in your time, transition so far, what changes in the VA have you seen since you retired, and what are some of the things that you can need help with?
um need help with basically navigating from, as we say, soup to nuts, beginning to end, how to put in a claim. I think, you do a good job with that with your nonprofit. But some people that can't get to you, you know what I'm saying? That we have to understand, okay, the military has to be a good steward about helping us with our claims instead of
Hmm.
just helping us. I ain't say instead of just helping us, but that needs to be culminated in the transition. And
Yeah.
that take a year to 2 years. It needs to be done in a structured fashion,
Hmm.
because that VA is important. That will change your life.
Yeah.
You need that help, from services and financially, from service from the VA and what they're supposed to do and what they're gonna do. So
Yeah.
you to transition. So, and we used to getting, so when you retire, that LES becomes half.
Yeah.
So you need a supplement.
Yeah.
You don't get
Exactly.
a mid month anymore. You just get end of the month. So that changes. So that's a shock too, right? So
Yep.
um I think that it's important for us to do that. I'm hoping I'm answering your question.
Oh yeah, it does, man. That's one of the challenges we have is the financial piece. They just changed my healthy vet. So if you all,
Yeah, it just did
it
that.
is, it
It
is
did.
horrible. Like what
Yeah.
was there before and having the tabs. And I was like, as a veteran service officer, I deal with a lot of older veterans. They really couldn't even get on a computer. Now you got to click on a link to another link and another link.
Yeah, but
Or
what's important for me is, for people, like, you got a phone, download the VA app, and I
yeah,
communicate on the app. It's like,
you couldn't get on the
beautiful.
app.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do get my appointments. I submit questions. I mean, that app saved me from logging into a computer. All I gotta do is press the app. It's already ready to go. And I just say, contact my team and the team, the people that work with me to help me in Cobb, and they got their name there, and you just type, hey,
Yeah.
I need help doing this, or I need a prescription. Can I get this filled? Or I need to set up appointment. I mean, that app has helped me out. Like
But
it's
what about the treatment on the inside? Like I just had some stuff done to me earlier this week, and
yeah.
they were talking about doing the epidural and didn't have needles. I'm like, how do you, how do you do how do you do that? Like really? I got
Yeah.
the epidural
Yeah,
and
I
you
don't
don't
know.
have the
That
needle?
too, because I went there, had an x-ray and they said you have degenerative arthritis. And I was like, okay. And they're like, yeah, that's what you had. But they like had a treatment plan or nothing. I had to like go through community care. Then I had to request, community care for a chiropractor, acupuncture. I just went to
And
acupuncture.
that takes forever to get through
Yeah, I
community
went to
care.
acupuncture the other day. It's changing my, I was like, man, that's nice. Acupuncture and physical therapy and massage. That acupuncture is a game changer. I'm like, man, but who passed like you,
it's hard to get that type of treatment, holistic treatment in comparison to drugs and so forth. So that's the other
yeah,
thing too that
that's
we need
that's the
to
quickest
get more of
result.
that system fixed.
Yeah,
So
but
we're wrapping down to about 3 minutes. So my last question for you is what's next? What's your new vision and purpose and part and wisdom that you want to share with the community?
you know, I'm a humble person and I'm value driven, and I hope that people remember me as a leader and who put the mission first, team first, and made systems better for the next generation, and made you know um, made things just better for the next generation. And if I had no direction and I needed help as a young kid and I'm trying to figure things out and I don't want to be in my environment, I would go down to the recruiting station. Because I'm just saying,
Yeah,
because
you telling the truth?
you want to get away, the military would take you away. They would take you places that you don't want to go. Take you places like, man, I didn't know I can go do this. This is cool. So I would say whatever you want to do is there for you, and go take advantage of it and live your dreams. And I don't regret a day signing up for the military. I don't regret. I've had some good times and I've met some great people. Like I met some awesome people. And I met
Yeah.
some not so great people, but I still took that experience and transcribed it into a positive direction as if I've done all through life. So
And it
yeah.
was a great start. You know what I'm saying? It was a great start to life. So you still
I
relatively
start,
young.
not how you start is how you finish.
It's how you finish.
Started
We
slow. I started slow.
relatively young, right? And
Yeah.
still at the point where we can say we're retired, enjoying life. And man, I want to thank you for coming out and taking time to share your life with me, inspiring other people. Um, talking about the things that help you through this, because overall, we're going to change people's lives through this platform. You can reach out to us at WCEG Network at any given time. Uh, if anybody want to reach Henry individually, just contact us. We'll get you to him and so forth. And then again, for helmets to boots, we're here changing lives, as he said, on so many different resources and different access and so forth. So if you cannot be the change, if you're not seeing the change, then I'm gonna leave you with be the change. You guys, thank you and have a blessed and wonderful day.